Imagine this: the person you trust most is already plotting against you. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? Picture that friend who always seems to smile, but you catch a glimpse of something else, resentment maybe. Or the partner whose loving gaze has gradually transformed into a calculating stare. And what about the colleague who nods along in meetings, but you can practically hear them sharpening their knives behind your back? Betrayal doesn't erupt from nowhere. It's not a sudden, shocking event that blindsides you completely. It's a slow, insidious process. A silent, poisonous script unfolding in the background while you're too busy giving people the benefit of the doubt. It's the almost imperceptible shift in their tone of voice, the subtle undercurrent of judgment in their eyes, the promises they conveniently seem to forget. Have you ever had an unsettling feeling in the pit of your stomach that something was off with someone close to you, but you brushed it aside? Maybe you explained it away as stress, or you convinced yourself you were just being paranoid, overthinking things, right? I know, I've been there. Trusting blindly, hoping for the best, making excuses for their behavior, and then bam, the truth hits you with the force of a hurricane. The signs were always there. You just didn't want to see them, or perhaps, deep down, you were afraid of what you might find. You see, most of us are raised to believe the best in people. We are taught to give second chances, to avoid conflict at all costs. But what happens when that very trust becomes your Achilles heel? What happens when your open, trusting heart becomes a target for someone else's hidden agenda? In this video, we're embarking on a deep exploration into the complex, often murky world of betrayal. We're not just talking about the act itself, the moment of heartbreak and shattered trust, but the psychology behind it. We'll uncover why people betray those closest to them, what drives them to inflict such pain. More importantly, we will learn how to recognize the subtle, often missed warning signs before it's too late. Finally, we'll explore practical strategies to protect yourself and your precious heart from being blindsided ever again. Think of this as your personal betrayal survival guide. We'll dissect the hidden patterns that lead to betrayal, drawing upon the profound insights of the legendary psychologist Carl Jung, and analyzing real-life examples, stories that you might even recognize from your own relationships. Before we get started, I'm genuinely curious to hear your experiences. Have you ever felt betrayed by someone you truly trusted? What did it feel like? What were the red flags that you overlooked? What lessons did you learn from that experience? Share your story, your insights, your warnings in the comments section below. Your experiences might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Or stick around, because what you're about to learn in this video could fundamentally change the way you perceive the people in your life, and perhaps, more importantly, the way you perceive yourself. Betrayal is almost never a sudden explosion. It's not a random, isolated act of malice that materializes out of thin air. No. Slow, deliberate pace, it builds over time, slowly, insidiously, like a silent, unseen storm steadily gathering strength beneath the seemingly calm surface of a tranquil sea. The moment of betrayal, that single, devastating act that shatters your trust, that thing you can never unsee, never unknow, is, in reality, merely the breaking point of something that has been slowly, relentlessly forming, often for months, sometimes even for years. Think of it like a dam gradually cracking under immense pressure. The eventual collapse is dramatic, catastrophic, and unforgettable, but the cracks were there all along, weren't they? Tiny, almost invisible fissures that were easily dismissed, conveniently ignored, or rationally explained away. Betrayal is the earthquake, but the underlying fault lines are the key. Carl Jung, one of the most insightful and influential minds in the history of psychology, firmly believed that betrayal always, without exception, follows a distinct, predictable pattern. Respectful, thoughtful tone, it's almost never an impulsive act, a spur-of-the-moment decision made in the heat of passion. Instead, it's the inevitable culmination of a complex web of hidden emotions, festering resentments, unresolved conflicts, and deeply suppressed fears. Understanding this pattern, recognizing the signs, is absolutely crucial to protecting yourself. Let's bring this down to earth. Let's make this real and relatable. Think about a close friend who in the past was your biggest cheerleader, always celebrating your wins, your accomplishments, your milestones. But now, slight pause, now they subtly downplay your achievements, minimize your efforts, or even outright dismiss your successes as mere luck. Or perhaps consider a romantic partner who once seemed to genuinely admire you for your intelligence, your ambition, your unique personality. But now, they constantly criticize your choices, nitpick your appearance, or make you feel as though you're constantly falling short of some unspoken expectation. Maybe it's a colleague at work, Someone who was once a reliable collaborator, a trusted ally, a supportive team player, but has gradually become distant, uncooperative, and even secretly competitive, perhaps even actively trying to undermine your efforts. You haven't changed. You're still the same person you've always been, but something inside them has undeniably shifted. Your personal growth, your unwavering confidence, your contagious happiness, your very existence may have unknowingly triggered something deep and unresolved within them. Envy, insecurity, deeply rooted feelings of inadequacy, or a profound sense of self-doubt that they are unable or simply unwilling to confront directly. Now, before you start obsessively analyzing every single interaction you've ever had with everyone you know, it's extremely important to remember that not every single change in behavior is automatically a glaring sign of impending betrayal. People experience tough times, they have bad days, they make mistakes. Life simply happens. But when these negative patterns persist, when the initial support slowly morphs into subtle sabotage, when the heartfelt compliments are replaced by veiled insults, when the once reliable ally transforms into a distant stranger, that's when you absolutely need to pay very, very close attention. That's when the internal alarm bells should begin to ring loudly. That's when you need to start asking yourself some difficult questions and start digging a little deeper beneath the surface. So here's the million-dollar question that we all want answered. Why do people allow these hidden, often unconscious feelings to fester and ultimately metastasize into full-blown betrayal? What is it, deep down, that drives someone to intentionally inflict pain on someone they were once close to, someone they supposedly cared about? To answer that question fully, we need to delve even further into the complex and often murky depths of the human psyche. We need to gain a deeper understanding of how our individual shadow selves can distort our perceptions, twist our realities, and ultimately lead us down a path of destruction, impacting not only ourselves but those closest to us. Have you ever heard of something called the Othello effect? It's a fascinating and often misunderstood psychological phenomenon named after Shakespeare's tragic character in Othello, who was ultimately driven to jealousy, irrational suspicion, and ultimately murder by ego's constant manipulative lies. The Othello effect, in its essence, describes how accusations of betrayal, even completely baseless ones, can, paradoxically, actually cause the very behavior they are intended to prevent. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy in its most tragic form. Think about it for a moment. If you consistently and relentlessly accuse someone of lying, even when they're being truthful, they might eventually start to lie, simply because they feel as though they're already being perceived that way, so they might as well fulfill that expectation. This is a powerful reminder that our individual perceptions of betrayal, whether justified or not, can be just as corrosive, just as damaging, and just as ultimately destructive as the actual act of betrayal itself. Before we move on to the next point, here's an important question for all of us to ponder. How do you skillfully distinguish between genuine concern for a friend and manipulative suspicion? How do you effectively address your legitimate fears and anxieties in a relationship without inadvertently creating a self-fulfilling prophecy? Take a moment to share your valuable thoughts and experiences in the comments section below. Carl Jung, in his groundbreaking work, famously argued that every single individual on this planet, without exception, possesses what he termed a shadow self. This enigmatic shadow self is the hidden, often unconscious part of our complex personality that we actively work to suppress, relentlessly deny, or completely reject because it simply doesn't fit the carefully constructed and often unrealistic idealized version of ourselves that we consciously want to project to the outside world. This shadow is a complex and potent cocktail of traits, emotions, desires, and deeply held impulses that society as a whole, our individual families, or even ourselves, have consciously deemed unacceptable, shameful, morally reprehensible, or even downright evil. It's the intense anger we were told to suppress as children, the burning ambition we were taught to temper, the forbidden desires we were told to rigidly control. The fundamental problem arises, and this is critically important to grasp, when this deeply buried shadow is triggered by external events. When something occurs in our lives that forces us to confront these long-suppressed aspects of ourselves, it can set off a cascade of reactions and cause a fundamental, often dramatic shift in how we perceive others, especially those we are closest to. Let's dissect this complicated concept even further. Let's break it down into manageable pieces with a concrete, relatable example. Picture this common scenario. You're actively working on improving yourself. Maybe you're finally and wholeheartedly committing to a healthier lifestyle. You're consistently working out, diligently eating well, prioritizing your physical and mental health, and you're feeling absolutely fantastic because of it. Or perhaps you're meticulously building better habits, dedicating time to reading more books, mastering new skills, and constantly expanding your horizons. Maybe you're even experiencing a significant surge of success in your chosen career path, finally landing that long-awaited promotion you've been diligently working towards, or finally launching that passion project you've always dreamed of pursuing but were too afraid to start. Now, instead of receiving genuine encouragement from those around you, instead of getting heartfelt congratulations for your accomplishments, instead of getting the unwavering support you would naturally expect from those closest to you, you begin to notice subtle dismissals, thinly veiled backhanded compliments, or even outright blatant criticism. A supposed friend might sarcastically joke, with a noticeable hint of resentment in their voice, "Must be nice to have all that free time," subtly implying that your impressive progress is nothing more than a frivolous luxury, rather than the direct result of years of dedicated effort and unwavering hard work. Initially, you might try to brush it off as nothing. You might tell yourself they're just teasing you, or that you're simply being too sensitive and overreacting. But as time goes on, a disturbing pattern begins to emerge. They mysteriously stop showing up for your scheduled workouts. They no longer ask about your progress in any area. They seem consistently uninterested in your life, and they might even subtly discourage you from continuing to push yourself forward, to improve, to grow. I want you to pause for a moment. Take some time to think deeply about your own relationships, both past and present. Has there ever been a specific time in your life when someone close to you, whether it was a friend, a family member, or a romantic partner, reacted with noticeable negativity, utter indifference, or even outright hostility to your personal growth, your remarkable achievements, or your overall happiness and well-being? What, in your informed opinion, was the underlying emotion driving their disconcerting behavior? Understanding these potentially destructive dynamics is absolutely critical to empowering yourself to protect yourself from future betrayals. So what can you realistically do about it? The first and most important step is simply being aware. Simply recognizing these subtle but telling patterns is an incredibly powerful tool in and of itself. The second crucial step is open, honest, and direct communication. Gently and honestly address the specific issue with the person in question. Clearly and concisely explain how their seemingly innocuous words and subtle actions make you genuinely feel, and give them a sincere opportunity to openly explain their own perspective. However, and this is absolutely crucial to understand, be fully prepared for them to vehemently deny their behavior, to cleverly deflect your concerns, or even to actively gaslight you into questioning your own sanity. If they are demonstrably unwilling to acknowledge their hurtful behavior, or if they consistently continue to exhibit these negative patterns despite your best efforts to communicate your feelings and needs, it may be time to create some healthy distance. Always remember this fundamental truth: you are not, under any circumstances, personally responsible for managing other people's complex and often volatile emotions. You are not obligated to tolerate toxic behavior simply to keep the peace. And you absolutely deserve, without question, to surround yourself with people who genuinely support your personal growth, consistently celebrate your successes, and always encourage you to become the best possible version of yourself, without any hidden envy, underlying resentment, or manipulative hidden agendas. While the majority of betrayals stem from deeply rooted, often unconscious resentment and the triggering of the individual's shadow self, not all betrayals originate from such murky and unexplored depths. Some betrayals are undeniably far more calculated, deliberately planned, and skillfully manipulative. These are, without a doubt, the most difficult to see coming, precisely because they are carefully orchestrated by individuals who are true masters of elaborate disguise and cunning deception. Individuals who are experts at wearing expertly crafted masks, hiding their true selves from the world. Carl Jung, in his extensive research, believed that certain individuals are remarkably adept at constructing elaborate false personas. Slightly cynical tone, they skillfully present themselves as exceptionally kind, consistently supportive, fiercely loyal, and endlessly trustworthy, all while consciously concealing their true intentions, which are often selfish and self-serving. These individuals are often incredibly charming, remarkably generous, and even seemingly protective of you. Until, of course, they no longer actually need you for anything. These are the wolves cleverly disguised in harmless sheep's clothing, the venomous vipers who charm you before they strike with deadly precision, the individuals who are masters at exploiting your deepest vulnerabilities and using them for their own personal gain. The most significant challenge with these types of calculated betrayers is that they are, almost without exception, incredibly skilled at sustained deception. They instinctively know exactly what you desperately want to hear, what you urgently need to feel secure and validated, and what your hidden weaknesses and insecurities are. They meticulously use this sensitive knowledge to skillfully manipulate you, to insidiously gain your complete trust, and to strategically position themselves perfectly for the inevitable betrayal they have been meticulously planning all along. Think carefully about someone who always seems to be readily available for you, offering unwavering support and seemingly unconditional love, but only when they actually need something in return from you. They conveniently rely on you for constant emotional support, perhaps ongoing financial assistance, valuable social connections that you can provide, or easy access to resources that you possess. But the precise moment you are no longer useful to them, the very moment you can no longer readily provide what they want or need, they abruptly withdraw, mysteriously disappear from your life, or, even worse, actively and openly turn against you, becoming your enemy. Maybe you once had a friend who was consistently kind, exceedingly complimentary and remarkably attentive to your every need, but only when they stood to directly benefit from your considerable generosity, your valuable personal connections, or your unique and desirable skills. Over time, you began to slowly notice that their carefully orchestrated kindness was always conditional, that their fleeting support was always temporary, and that their alleged loyalty was entirely dependent on what you could consistently do for them. The very moment you could no longer provide exactly what they wanted, their attitude completely changed, their interest dramatically waned, and their long-concealed true colors finally began to visibly show. Perhaps in the end, they were never truly your friend in the first place. Perhaps they were simply skillfully playing a carefully rehearsed role, wearing a temporary mask of shallow loyalty that only lasted as long as it directly served their own selfish interests and ulterior motives. So, how can you effectively protect yourself from these manipulative masterminds? How can you see through the skillfully constructed facades and accurately identify the true intentions that lie carefully concealed beneath the surface charm? The key, as always, is heightened awareness. First, always pay exceptionally close attention to consistent patterns of behavior. Are they consistently reliable in all aspects of their life, or do their actions often dramatically contradict the words they so freely speak? Are they genuinely and consistently interested in your overall well-being, or are they primarily focused on their own selfish needs and desires? Do they respectfully honor your personal boundaries, or do they constantly push them, incessantly trying to get you to do things that you are genuinely uncomfortable with? Second, always trust your gut instincts. If something consistently feels off about a person or a situation, do not under any circumstances dismiss it. Don't try to rationalize it away or come up with excuses for their potentially harmful behavior. Don't allow their considerable charm and clever manipulation to cloud your own otherwise sound judgment. Your intuition is an incredibly powerful tool that you possess. Learn to listen to it carefully. Third, consistently set clear and firm boundaries in all of your relationships. Don't ever be afraid to say no to a request. Don't ever feel obligated to do things for people who are consistently taking advantage of you. And don't hesitate, even for a moment, to distance yourself from those individuals who consistently violate your boundaries and demonstrate a clear disregard for your feelings. Remember this important truth: you are not personally responsible for fixing other people's deep-seated problems and insecurities. You are not a therapist, a personal bank, or a doormat for others to walk all over. And you are certainly not obligated to tolerate manipulative behavior in the false names of so-called friendship, unwavering loyalty, or familial obligation. Your own emotional and mental well-being is paramount. Always protect it fiercely and without apology. The pervasive phenomenon of betrayal extends far beyond the realm of individual relationships. It powerfully reflects broader societal trends and even deeply rooted philosophical concepts about the nature of humanity. In a world that is increasingly driven by intense individualism and relentless competition, the essential bonds of trust are tragically becoming increasingly fragile and easily broken. Social media, while undeniably connecting us in unprecedented ways, can also inadvertently breed feelings of envy, constant comparison, and relentless competition, thereby exacerbating underlying feelings of inadequacy, festering resentments, and unfulfilled desires. Political polarization, widening economic inequality, and a generalized sense of uncertainty and anxiety about the future can further erode our fundamental trust in one another and create a fertile environment that is ripe for betrayal and deception. Philosophically, Betrayal touches upon some of the most fundamental and enduring questions about the essential nature of human beings. Are we inherently selfish? Are we capable of truly selfless altruism? Or are all of our relationships simply transactional in nature, based on a calculated exchange of benefits and a selfish pursuit of personal gain? As we look ahead to the future, how can we actively work to build a more trustworthy and compassionate society for ourselves and future generations? How can we collectively foster stronger and more resilient relationships based on genuine connection, sincere empathy, and unwavering mutual respect? One extremely promising potential solution is to prioritize comprehensive emotional intelligence education starting from a young age. By effectively teaching children from a very early age how to understand and effectively manage their complex emotions, how to communicate clearly and compassionately, and how to cultivate healthy and fulfilling relationships, we can collectively create a more compassionate, resilient, and ultimately trustworthy society. Another critically important step is to proactively address the underlying societal issues that contribute to widespread feelings of envy, resentment, and profound inadequacy. By actively promoting economic equality for all, creating meaningful opportunities for everyone, and fostering a culture of collaboration rather than relentless competition, we can significantly reduce the intense pressure that sadly drives people to betray one another for personal gain. Okay, let's quickly recap the key takeaways from today's thought-provoking video. We carefully explored the often hidden patterns of betrayal, revealing that it's rarely a sudden event that comes out of nowhere, but rather a slow and insidious burn that is fueled by deep-seated unconscious resentments or deliberately planned manipulation. We delved into the fascinating concept of the individual shadow self, understanding how suppressed emotions can negatively warp our perceptions and ultimately lead to destructive behaviors. And finally, we carefully examined the cleverly crafted masks that betrayers often wear, learning how to effectively identify the subtle, but telling red flags and proactively protect ourselves from those who would willingly exploit our inherent trust and generosity. The core and essential message of this entire video is this: betrayal is, without a doubt, incredibly painful, but it doesn't have to define you as a person. It can, in fact, be a valuable opportunity for profound personal growth, for invaluable learning, and for building significantly stronger and healthier relationships in the future. The key is to observe deeply, trust slowly, and never be afraid to confidently walk away from those individuals who don't genuinely value your loyalty, your friendship, or your unconditional love. Now I genuinely want to hear from all of you. Enthusiastic, engaging tone, did this particular video deeply resonate with you on a personal level? Did it give you a fresh and more informed perspective on the complex phenomenon of betrayal? What were your biggest and most important takeaways from the content? Share your thoughts, your valuable insights, and your personal experiences in the comments section below. And if you genuinely enjoyed this video and found it to be helpful, please give it a thumbs up to show your support. Subscribe to my channel for more thought-provoking and insightful content in the future. And share this video with your friends, family members, and colleagues who might also find it to be valuable and informative. As a final and thought-provoking question for all of you to consider moving forward, how will you actively use this newly acquired knowledge to build more authentic, meaningful, and genuinely trustworthy relationships in your own life? I want to know your specific plan. Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching.